Okay, so today what we've got is my 2014 Ram 1500 Hemi 4-wheel drive 392 gears, and we've got about 123,000 miles on it so far. It's been generally pretty good, no major issues. But at 120,000 they recommend that you change the transfer case fluid. So that's a little further up. But I figured they don't really give recommendations as far as when you should be changing the diff fluid. So we're going to do it all. So that's our video today. We're going to be changing the front differential, the rear diff, as well as the transfer case fluid on this truck. And it looks like, yeah, factory silicone. So I may need to run to the parts store because I'm not sure if I have enough silicone that's in decent enough shape to put that back together and then do the front as well. The transfer case won't need that. It's just got a couple of plugs. Oh, but then again, so does this. This has a drain. Look at that. It's got a drain plug. Interesting. I may just pull that out. We'll start there. Because this is the fill. Little rubber plug right here. So it's not hot because I was thinking about doing the transmission drain and fill on that as well, just to get some more of that stuff flushed out, but we'll see. Probably going to pull that drain and see what we need to do from there, but we're going to go get set up. All right, so the drain is get over here, a 14 millimeter hex. I don't know why I have one, but I did. Okay. There she goes. All right, before I break my own rule, let's get the fill out of here. Because if you can't get the fill out, you don't want to pull the drain out. Let's see what we end up with here. Yikes. Yeah. Reasonably clean for 120,000 miles. No water that I can see. So that's nice. So now, we're going to let that drain, and once it's done, we'll fill it back up. I'm going to let it drain for a while though, because it's kind of cold, so, like syrup. Still dripping. I was concerned that that might be the low spot, not the low spot, but looking at this, these bolts actually have a pop-out for the bottom, so that is pretty close to the absolute low spot of that pan. I think what I may do, just to help this out a little bit because it's almost done, I'm going to put a jack under that driver's side wheel and just tip it over this way a little bit. And then we're going to be done here. And then we'll have to fill it up. Takes 4.4 pints. So what's that? A pint is 16 ounces. So 64 plus 8. So like 72 ounces plus like 5 ounces of the anti-slip or anti-spin differential modifier. Of course, that only comes in 4-ounce bottles, so you get to buy 2 of them. But I'm going to continue draining this, and then we'll get back when we start filling it up. All right, so I used a little compressed air, just kind of blew in there, blew out as much as I could. Looks pretty good. So now we're going to wipe this off. A little bit of crud, nothing major. Didn't really see any metal or anything. Get this out of here because I will drop the wrench in it. Get that back to the factory torque spec. Click. All right. Okay, now we're going to go get the oil, and this is pretty simple. Always use an oil that is at least Owner's Manual recommends this is. The rear end takes 75, 140. The front end takes like 75, 90. It's not quite as gnarly. Here is the additive. Let's see if we can hit something there. It's an MS-10111 or this 04318060AD. And again, for this rear end, because you need 5 ounces and they're each 4 ounces a piece. So what I think I'm going to do, because these are kind of neat, it's the first time I've bought these, I think I'm going to pour the diff fluid, the additive, into the first bag, throw that in there, and then squeeze the rest of it on top till it's full, and that's going to do it. So that additive looks a lot like gear oil. It certainly doesn't smell like that garbage that Ford makes you use. But so far we got first 4 ounces into this, and I'm thinking I can fit, yeah, I can fit the next ounce, and we'll just put the top on it, start squirting. Okay, these things aren't perfectly self-service. You still have to cut off the tip. Let's see what we can do, how big of a mess we can make. Not bad. All right. Repeat that a little bit more. That's basically 4 pints plus the 5 ounces. Now we need just a touch more. About 6 ounces or so to finish it up. Okay. Yep. And that did it. And there she goes. And the rear end is done. So now we're going to move on to the front. So the front diff, a little bit more involved than the rear. On some jack stands. Looks like you got your drain at the bottom and your fill, but if you've got the skid plate, you probably need to remove that, which seems to be 13 millimeter bolts. 4 of them, 2 up front, 2 in the back. So we're going to pull the skid plate and then we'll be right back. The fill and the drain plugs seem to be an 8. Just because, oh wow, they're not that tight. I wonder if they're an O-ring. Oh man, they're nothing like that back one. That's good. It's hard to tell. It does look like they may have a little tiny O-ring on it. But they are in pretty good shape. Looks nice and clean. Let's see what the oil looks like. A little gunkier than the rear, but still not terrible. It does look like the oil fill and drain plugs are identical on this unit. So, much like the last time, we're going to let this drain, blow it out a little bit, and then fill it back up. But this one does not take any additive. So it's just 2.3 pints, I think, or something like that, of oil, and we're done. Again, rather impressed with this differential. The drain really is the lowest point, so kind of nice. Almost ready. All right, so we will attempt to put the plugs back in without dropping them into the pan. Nope, don't want to put the fill plug back in yet, you dummy. That would be bad. Click. And then we put our 2 and change pints in. Let's see how this is going to work. I do see the appeal of these bags. I thought they were dumb the first time I saw them, but this is pretty slick, I have to admit. Alright, that's it. So we'll let that drain out a little second. She's a little overfull now. I love how that oil is perfectly clear. I like that. So we'll really know what kind of contamination, if any, that we had next time. Alright, I call that good. That'd be an ounce or two over, but she's well vented. Click. There she is. Front diff is also done. So that's good. Now we just got to clean up and move on to the transfer case. Alright, similarly you can see the drain on the bottom, even says drain next to it, and then the fill plug is up the top there, just the other side of the shifter motor for the transfer case. But there's also another skid plate. Looks like it's held in with the same 13mm screws. So we're going to take that out of the way and then drain this one. Nothing like a Dodge hodgepodge. Had a 14mm hex on the back to take the plug out, 8mm up front, and now 3/8 drive square because of course. So we're gonna go get that tool, break these loose, and let it start draining. Now this, I think, is more like an automatic transmission fluid. It's not really a grease oil, real thick oil, so this shouldn't be too bad even though it's cold. I think that plug's made of aluminum. Interesting. Ooh, that was close. Almost missed the bucket. Yeah, that's thin. And it's rather black, so it definitely needed it. The diffs are probably okay, but that transfer case, that oil was getting pretty well used. So, I'm gonna let it drain. Get these plugs back in. That'll work. Oops, now we'll start filling it up. Supposed to take 3 pints, so 1.5 of these, I hope. And it's not quite one because this isn't long enough, but it takes some screwing around. Much like the other ones, you fill it till it comes out and let it drip and then put the plug back in. Alright, 1 second. Perfect. Right when I ran out of pump. Perfect. So I'm going to let that drip for a little bit. Drain out the excess, and we're going to put the plug in it, put the skid plate back up, and it is the same 13mm, and then wipe it off, and we're finished. So this is fairly simple. Not a lot to these fluid changes under this ram. It was not as bad as I expected it might be. If you got the skid plates, obviously you got to pull those off. Other than that, really simple to do. Didn't even have to take the spare tire down in the back. So, I do appreciate everyone watching these videos, commenting, liking, subscribing, all that stuff. And I'll have some tools available for these type of jobs. They're on my Amazon affiliate, the link to which you can find in the description for this video. And with that, I will hope y'all having a good day, and talk to y'all later.